In Desert Hot Springs, incumbent Mayor Scott Mattis is running against previous Mayor Adam Sanchez. I spoke with both men today who certainly do not see eye to eye on issues affecting the city. Scott and Adam, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to start by asking each of you to briefly tell us about yourselves and why you're running for mayor. Scott, since you're the incumbent, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Peter, for having us. I was elected to City Council in 2007. I was elected mayor in 2015. I want to continue my term here in the 2020 with 4 years to continue to develop the city and continue the projects the policies that were set by our City Council and continue those projects moving forward from road safety projects on. So that's the reason I'm running for another seat.
All right, Adam.
As a former mayor, I spent my first 2 years back in 2013, 2014, basically eliminating a major debt, $6 million what I inherited when I first became mayor in Desert Hot Springs. And so during those 2 years, that was what my focus was because, you know, basically we did not want to in any way head into bankruptcy. But what was really important for me is that I've been living in Desert Hot Springs for 20 years. So I was involved when I first came in 1997 to help create the Desert Hot Springs Police Department that went from sheriffs to our local department now. So I was a city employee when I first arrived in the city. Then I started working for the nonprofit Boys and Girls Clubs and did more programs in the community. So I'm very community focused with programs and activities. And I think that's really helped me when I became mayor. But those first 2 years were very difficult because we did not in any way want to head into any type of bankruptcy. So when that term was over, of course, I was only short like 60 votes in the election. And that was very unfortunate because it only gave me an opportunity to set the city financially forward, especially when I signed the cannabis ordinance with my signature that created the steps we have now to create future economic development in the city and create the jobs that we need.
Okay, let me ask both of you, what are the top 3 issues in Desert Hot Springs? And if elected, how do you plan to address those issues? Scott.
The first thing I'd like to do in my next term is to continue the public safety corridor that we started with the road projects. We've had over $6 million in road projects in Desert Hot Springs approved and or in construction and or finished over the last 5 years as mayor and moving forward. I want to continue those safety corridors and make sure our casualties are down when it comes to pedestrian and bicycle safety. This last year so far, we're 36% down due to the road projects that we've put together over the last 5 years. We produced over 2,300 jobs in the cannabis industry and other businesses in Desert Hot Springs over the last 5 years. We had the lowest unemployment rate ever before COVID at 5.6%. And I want to continue to develop jobs, develop business in Desert Hot Springs. We've moved towards having our own economic development manager in Desert Hot Springs rather than a contract. And we've got some great announcements coming with housing projects and businesses in 2021 due to the leadership that I've proven over the last 5 years.
Adam.
One of the major priorities first would be job development in the city of Desert Hot Springs. You know, our unemployment rate is way over 23%. But a lot of residents, because of COVID now, you know, people are looking now to either have a career change or are really having to restructure their lives. But one of the important things is that the only opportunity we have now to create good paying jobs is the cannabis industry. That was why the voters voted for cannabis rather than higher taxes, sales tax, you know, back in 2014. But I think the voters want now a lower cannabis tax in order to create those jobs that we need for the future, to the point where it can create 3,000 new jobs, hopefully in the next 5 years. And we can make that happen. Now, for the second priority, you know, it's really about creating more community programs and activities. Our Boys and Girls Club has been closed down. We don't have that program anymore. The city closed down the old police activities league that we have, so that doesn't exist. At Tedesco Park, we used to have the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts there, but that was closed down also. Even God's Kitchen, who was at Tedesco. So we have a lot of youth programs in the community that we need to go back and start working with them, because if we don't start educating our youth and providing them with alternative activities, especially after school from 3 to 6, that's when more crime comes about in the community. And right now we have, once again, more gang activity in the community because we've closed down all the youth programs that we have. Right now, we don't have a program to deal with homeless. We have to be able to have a cleaner city and work with the homeless and clean up basically a lot of the image that we have, because we have neighborhoods where garbage and trash piles up in our streets, and just it's uncalled for.
Scott, I noticed that you were shaking your head no a lot. Did you want to respond to that?
Sure, I'd love to. First of all, you just can't tell people things that aren't actually true or statistically factual, and that's what Mr. Sanchez has a problem doing. First of all, Desert Hot Springs does not have a Boys and Girls Club. That's correct, but we have a very vibrant run rec center that has 120 students in it every day, which is exactly the same as the Boys and Girls Club facility in the same exact location, just not ran by the Boys and Girls Club. Second of all, the Police Activities League needs the police department behind it. It's been tried to be revived multiple times. Homeless program, we have six different programs in our community that are running homeless programs in our community, from cooling centers to feeding programs. And we've been working with Coachella Valley Association of Governments and spent over $200,000 a year, or over $100,000 this year and last year, in programming for the homeless in our community. Again, it's just a bunch of information that is not statistically factual. And again, you can say you want a Coke machine in every classroom, but it's just not going to happen unless you have 3 votes and you actually know what your staff is doing in City Hall. So please stop coming out of the woodwork when it's election time and actually pay attention to your city, Mr. Sanchez. You really know the facts.
Okay, he brought up the Boys and Girls Club. I ran that for 10 years. And what ended up happening was Mr. Matas and Mrs. Parks and Mrs. Pye at that time decided they wanted to bring the Coachella Boys and Girls Club over.
Not true at all. Had nothing to do with it. Mr. Sanchez, stop making up lies.
They wanted to bring it over. So what happened was Coachella came over. And when they came over, I told them they are going to leave because the reason they came over is they received $250,000 a year for almost 4 years. That's $1 million. They only came for the money. Those programs left, not because of me, but because of prior current administration. So I want to bring them back and make the city.
Statistically, we have the lowest. We have the third. Statistically, we have the 6th lowest crime in the Coachella Valley. We have 3 cities that have higher crime than Desert Hot Springs. We have the lowest gang activity of the 4 cities that have gang activity in the Coachella Valley. We've had gang injunctions. Bringing up these things from the past is the reason that I'm the mayor today, because no one wants to hear from the past. They want to see someone move the city forward, not past. And that's why my motto is realistic vision with real results.
The city council. So you can go ahead and repeat that. That's fine. But I think that, you need to take responsibility also. That's what a mayor does. And
yes,
I think
absolutely. And I do take responsibility. It would be nice if you took some responsibility.
That's the facts too. And
all right,
you never want to accept any facts at all. So I understand that.
Let's move on to the last question. What is the message you want voters to hear, and why should they choose you versus your opponent? Scott.
Thank you, Peter, again, for having us today. The message is simple. My motto is a realistic vision with real results. I don't put out numbers and facts that just aren't true. That's the one thing that I prided myself on as being the mayor of Desert Hot Springs, is I run a meeting that is responsible, a meeting that it gives everybody credit for what they're doing, and I don't take all the credit when I don't deserve it. Second of all, moving forward, we have some great plans of building fire stations and cleaning up our neighborhoods. And again, a realistic vision with real results is my motto, because that's what I can do as the mayor of Desert Hot Springs.
Adam.
I think moving forward, we need to utilize city resources to the maximum potential. Just recently, the city council decided to build a new city hall, which they budgeted pretty much at $6 million, but it ended up costing $10 million. And it's still being spent on the building. And it sends a poor message to the community, because when they look at monies, they know that, we need to be resourceful with those monies, especially when across the street from City Hall, you have about 12 empty retail small businesses that are empty. And so we have a great City Hall we paid $10 million on, but we have no small businesses, across the street or around City Hall. So we have to utilize our resources better. And we need to use it to the extent where we build community. One of the things that I done right after I became mayor, I created the Martin Luther King Walk. We had almost 400 people come out united in the community over a walk that Mr. Matas voted no for, citing, of course, safety issues, and there wasn't any. It's unfortunate because he voted no on it, but 400 people came out. That's building community together to create a better future. So if we can create more programs, more activities, make the city more inclusive to all residents, which is the only way we can solve the current problems we have. You can't just do it without city participation, and creating those opportunities for people to have a voice in the city and listen to that voice and let them be part of our future.
Scott, did you want to respond?
What can you say? Mr. Sanchez is going to keep putting stuff out there that is absolutely not true and not out of context.
You know you voted
at this
no
time.
for
I
things,
appreciate
who didn't want
everybody.
being in the city.
Vote
So you can just lie
vote.scottmattis.com
about
is my website if you want more information on me. I appreciate your time, Peter. I appreciate you, Adam, for what you've done for the city. But moving forward is I'm the best bet for the mayor.
Okay.
Well, I totally disagree with that one.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Peter.
Anytime, pleasure.